Ladies and gentlemen, welcome in. Today I'm going to be taking a look at a few metrics in regards to the off-year elections, specifically regarding the gubernatorial races, including the races in Virginia as well as New Jersey. And New Jersey is a very hot-button state when it comes to what happened in 2024. We're going to be talking about it, diagnosing it, getting some early voting numbers. There was the recent first debate that happened between Mikey Sherrill and Jack Ciattarelli, who are the two candidates, and you can see we've got day two numbers. I'll show day one as well. Those have come out, but the mail-in, and we know the Democrats always lead pretty heavily in terms of the mail-in, but the comparison, this is based off of, I guess they're comparing the election to the governor's race, which is, so it's kind of like comparing apples to oranges. Normally the governorships tend to sporadically be different than well, it depends, I guess, on which state, but Ciattarelli ran in 2021 and he only lost by about 2.5 points to Phil Murphy. Compare that to what happened in 2020. New Jersey was an extremely liberal state. Now in 2024, Trump cut into the margin in New Jersey by 6 or 7 points. He lost by about 5.5 points. And you can see the difference here, 2024 early voting versus 2025. Looks like Republicans making up around 10 points. You also do have, this is Pennsylvania. I don't know if I actually have it on here, but we are going to look at the metrics. So first, let's take a look at the polling. So this is recent polling, and I will say, you look at this, it's very sporadic. There's really only 2 polls that I would say are relevant, maybe 3 if you want to go back a month. But this Rutgers poll, this Fairleigh Dickinson poll, these are polls from 2-3 months ago. So Mikey Sherrill, the Democrat, is sitting at around an 8.5 point edge. I would say that's a significantly exaggerated margin when you understand the context of New Jersey. Also, the slight loss that Jack Ciattarelli had in 2021. The recent debate, did it really matter? Do debates matter? Seemed like Ciattarelli, at least from my vantage point, yes, I do have a Republican, leaning For You page on X, but it seemed like Ciattarelli did pretty well in that debate. But you take a look at this, Sherrill is sitting up 8.5. You look at something interesting, the voter registration in New Jersey. So we know that based off of this recent election, Trump losing by under 6 points, 5.9 points, 52.0% to 46.1%. A lot of liberals, a lot of conservatives shocked by this result, specifically in New Jersey, the margin of it. It was like New Jersey and Illinois, and then Illinois got a bunch of like late mail-in ballots, and it extended or exaggerated the margin to like 11 or 12 points, but New Jersey stayed close. And so when you look at Trump in New Jersey relative to his performance in 2020 versus what happened in terms of the gubernatorial race in 2021 with Ciattarelli only losing by 2.5 points, now you would figure Ciattarelli, and it's not an apples to apples comparison because the candidates are different, but you would think Ciattarelli now in 2025 would have only losing by 2.5 points in 2021 with what we saw in 2024. Remember, one of Trump's biggest rallies was in the spring of 2024 in New Jersey, believe it or not. There was like 100,000 people at one of his outdoor rallies. There is a momentum that has seemingly, come about for Republicans in New Jersey because of this result in specific. New Jersey has elected Republican governors in the past. Most recent, I'm sure everybody knows, Chris Christie. And so let's take a look at the voter registration trends. Obviously, Democrats enjoying a significant lead, even more independents than Democrats, which would signal that Republicans can be competitive. But in 2024, Democrats were at around 37.5% of the state, Republicans at around 24.5%. Now we've got Republicans gaining, looks like at least, from 2024 to currently, looks like Republicans gaining around 44 or 45,000 in terms of the overall voter registration. Not really making a huge dent into it, but I do know that based off of the 2024 general election results, Trump only losing by 5.9 points, along with the fact that Ciattarelli was extremely competitive in 2021, it signals that maybe there is a chance, or at least a significant chance, that Ciattarelli, and you can see, I was surprised by this. You take a look at the betting. The betting is coming down a little bit, but this to me is very good value on Ciattarelli. Now, I'm not saying he's going to win, but you're talking about New Jersey, a state where it seems like there is some serious Republican momentum. Ciattarelli barely losing in 2021. Sherrill, people saying not a very strong candidate. I would say this should probably be 70-30 right now. It's about 86-14. And maybe some of this was the debate performance. It looks like Citarelli's gone up by about 4 or 5 points within recent days. There's decent volume on this, so there is people betting on it. And we will have to see. The total volume is still under $1 million. This is an off-year election happening November 4th, but of course, with it being an odd year, not very many people are talking about it. So this is the governor's race in New Jersey. I think you have to say, based off of the past history, that the liberal is the favorite. But with the context of what Trump did in 2024, the voter trends, the voter registration, seemingly more of a ground game and more of an effort in New Jersey for Republicans, along with the fact that Citarelli barely lost in 2021, we could say there's a chance, especially when it comes to the governor's race. Now, when it comes to 2028, I think it's going to be tough because the Democrats spent next to no money in New Jersey in 2024. They're going to want to retain that state with the 14 or 15 electoral votes, whatever it is. So I think it's going to be a challenge for Republicans in 2028, but it's still good because you make them expend resources defending New Jersey. You make New Jersey a swing state if you are J.D. Vance or whoever the Republican nominee ends up being. And then you've got this other race, Winsome Earl Sears, the Republican, taking on Abigail Spanberger. And you've got Spanberger sitting up around 7.1. This is the Virginia governorship. It's unfortunate. Republicans shockingly win Virginia, and Youngkin is 1 term limit out. So that's the rule in Virginia. You can't do consecutive terms there as governor. And so this one, to me, it's going to be a challenge. It really is. I think right now, New Jersey is a higher chance than Virginia. But I will say, people were showing me this, and actually there were more recent polls here. Spanberger sitting just an average about 7. Youngkin was in a similar spot back in September of 2021, and he ended up winning, to where in the polls he was down by about 7. It's like an eerily similar spot as to where Earl Sears is. So maybe there's an outside shot for Earl Sears. Virginia, Virginia and New Jersey, these are liberal states. They are. Now, when it comes to governor's races based off of 2021, with Youngkin winning the Republican, unfortunately, he can't be an incumbent. It'd be a big advantage if he was. With a Republican winning Virginia in 2021, and with Citarelli only losing New Jersey by 2.5 in 2021, you can say, well, we can be a bit more bullish on one of these governor's races and hope to maybe take one of them. Maybe there's an outside chance they take 2 of them, but let's not lose the context of these being Democratic states. So if the Democrats win, this is Virginia. If the Democrats win, it's New Jersey. These are traditional Democratic states. Going into 2028, Virginia will be a, not bright blue state, but it's going to be a blue state. New Jersey is going to be a blue state as well. Now, people are saying maybe New Jersey becomes a swing state. We'll see. I think the jury is still out on that. The Democrats do still have an advantage, but there was a significant shift in 2024, the general election there. So these would be the 2 big governor's races. I think if you look back with the context of the fact that both of the governor's races in 2021 were extremely close, with the Republican winning, although it was Glenn Youngkin in Virginia, there is a shot for Republicans in both of these states, even though you look at the polling and the composite. These are exaggerated margins. These are +7, +8, but again, this is limited polling. We're dealing with 2 or 3 polls within the past month. You get polls like this that are spaced out. Polling in general is not 100% accurate, and then when you only get 2 or 3 of them, it's hard to really trust them, although this is pretty consistently Spanberger up by about 7 or 8 points on average in terms of that one. And then obviously the recent stuff that's come out is some of the early voting where Republicans relative to, and honestly, another thing to talk about, it is the Charlie Kirk assassination. Will that affect 2025? Republicans have the low propensity problem. At this point, will there be the galvanization around Charlie Kirk? Because this is an off year. It's tough to get people to even come to the polls during the midterms. This is an off year to where it's an odd year in 2025. But it does seem like there is this is even with, you look at, Republicans performing very well in the 2024 election. Now they're doing even better, at least in the early voting in 2025. Maybe that is a very good sign for Jack Citarelli. I'd like to see the comparisons to 2021. Although when it comes to early voting, the trends tend to be a little bit hazy because Trump told a lot of people, Republicans, not to early vote in 2020. Now they're telling him to do it. So you would imagine they're going to improve no matter what, just as a byproduct of more Republicans being willing to go to the polls early and or I guess do mail-in voting, whatever it is. And so we will see, but you have to be cautiously optimistic about New Jersey and Virginia based off the history. I would say New Jersey a bit, but I would say Citarelli has a legitimate chance to win New Jersey for sure, based off of the 2024 result, based off of his close 2021 governorship loss. And so we'll just have to see. And it's unfortunate with Youngkin. If Youngkin was running for re-election, I think it'd be a slam dunk. There's no doubt about it. But it's just the way the rules work in Virginia. So that's just an update on those two races for 2025. Both of those elections happening the first Tuesday of November. And so we will see in terms of that. But either way, guys, that is going to do it for this video. Make sure you like the video down below. Also follow me on X. Link to that's always in the description.